Hello everyone, Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense. Thank you for watching. I have another Monday quarterback video for you. I'm going to play the entirety of this video without any interruption, and then I'll go back and talk about things that are going on to better explain what's going on and talk about things that I think that were done right and or done wrong. Without further ado, here we go.
I'm Assistant Chief Patty Cantu of the Houston Police Department. This critical incident briefing is intended to provide you with information about an officer-involved shooting that occurred in Houston on January 27, 2022. You're about to see video footage that is related to this incident. HPD conducts thorough investigations into officer-involved shootings. These typically require investigators to interview multiple witnesses, view numerous hours of video footage, and analyze a significant amount of forensic evidence. It is important to note that we are in the very early stages of this investigation, and we continue to process additional evidence as it is collected, analyzed, and reviewed. A word of caution: the videos you're about to see can be graphic and may be difficult to watch. In addition, these videos may contain strong language. Viewer discretion is advised. At approximately 2:45 p.m., Houston police officers responded to a threat to life call. Officers were provided the suspect's name, Roland Caballero, and the description of the vehicle he was driving. While searching the area, officers spotted the vehicle and attempted a traffic stop. Mr. Caballero fled in the vehicle and crashed at 2500 Hutchins Street. Mr. Caballero immediately got out of his vehicle and fired his weapon numerous times at the officers. The officers returned fire. 2 officers were struck by Mr. Caballero's gunfire. Mr. Caballero fled on foot, approached a female whose vehicle was stopped while trying to enter a nearby apartment complex. Mr. Caballero ordered the woman out of the vehicle at gunpoint while continuing to fire upon officers. A 3rd officer was struck at this time. Mr. Caballero fled in the stolen vehicle. Other officers then went to Mr. Caballero's residence and observed the stolen vehicle parked outside. SWAT team officers arrived and established a perimeter. As SWAT officers approached the residence, Mr. Caballero fired shots at them from within the residence, and officers returned fire. Hours later, Mr. Caballero surrendered to SWAT officers. He had sustained a gunshot wound to the neck area and was transported to a hospital in stable condition. The 3 officers injured by Mr. Caballero's gunfire sustained non-life-threatening injuries.
Right here. Suspect is now northbound. He cracked up. Joe. Car! Get on the other side of the car! Stop! We're gonna be at the 2100 block of Neil Hutchins. I got an officer down. Car going northbound, Mercedes-Benz. Suspect is now northbound. He cracked up.
1509.
Yep. I saw it. Suspect is now northbound. Watch out. Shots fired! Send EMS. I got hit. Fucking bitch. Hey, come here. Hurry. Tighten that tight. No. Wrap it around. Stop.
You want me to get you a towel?
Yeah, quickly. He's in this room right here. Hey. He's in this room right here. Hey, back up. Bang it! Non-bang! Hey, back up. Hey, turn and go. Turn and go. Hands. Let me see your hands. Come to your left. Come down the stairs. Hands straight up. Keep walking towards my boys. Keep coming. Keep walking. Stop. Turn around. Keep going. Walk back towards my boys. Keep moving. Keep coming. Down your knees. Down. Get down. All the way down.
Okay, let's get into it. Go all the way back to the beginning here. All right, so the police initially respond to a domestic dispute kind of call, and this guy is involved in it. I'm assuming that it's his girlfriend that he got involved with on this domestic. Now, I don't have a whole lot of details about that. All I know is a domestic disturbance kind of call, and that's it. So no idea if they got there and then he gets in his car and takes off, or if he had left before they arrived and they noticed him on the road and then tried to stop him. No idea what's going on there. They obviously identified him in his vehicle and attempted to make a traffic stop on him. He obviously refused to stop. Now, also do not know how long the pursuit was going on. Have no idea if it had just started and this is 20 seconds into it, or if they've been chasing him and it's already been a couple minutes. I have no idea. All I see is what you see, and there's not a whole lot of information to indicate how this pursuit played out. What we can tell, obviously, is this dude wrecked out. You can see the mark right here on the pavement where he's hit the concrete. So he has scratched off this surface of the concrete right here. That's why you see it all white looking. You can still see some of the dust and the smoke from his vehicle after hitting that. And of course, you can see the marks right here from where he has slammed into this fence. There is some news footage out there. There's a reporter after this incident, when the car has been moved, who's standing right here in front of these two vans. And you can see more marks on the ground from where he's crashed out and kind of scraped along the sidewalk right here. And interestingly enough, also you can see bullet holes in the windshields of these vans from where the police shot at him and missed. He has a really nice car. I'll give him that. This Dodge Charger is pretty sweet looking. Unfortunately, just because, he has a very nice, fast sports car, it doesn't mean that he is capable of driving it the way it can be driven. And this is the case for lots and lots of people out there. A lot of guys will get a sports car, souped up engine, and they think they're freaking Dale Earnhardt. They think they can go to the Indy 500 and race just like anyone else just because they bought this car. Also, incidentally, you also find guys who think along those same kind of lines when it comes to certain guns. They'll go out and buy this gun, get it tricked out, like a good old top of the line gun. It's like $2,000 or something like that. And they'll get this gun and they can't shoot for shit. Just because you go out and buy something really nice, that's souped up and has really good specs on it and parts and everything on it, doesn't make you any better. Doesn't make you any better whatsoever. So it's no surprise that this guy wrecked out. Unfortunately, he wrecked out a nice car, and this in of itself should be a crime. Like, that's a beautiful car. This dude abusing this car like that, like, he needs extra time on top of what he's getting for hurting the beautiful Dodge Charger here. If you haven't noticed, I kind of got a sweet spot for Dodge Chargers. But he wrecks out, and these officers are I want to say on top of him for the whole pursuit, but he wrecks out, and they're on him before he gets out. Now we'll back it up a little bit and hit play. So as they round this corner, all we see is him sitting right here. No idea if he's been sitting there for a few seconds or if he just now came to a rest and the vehicle stopped moving, and it's just perfect timing when they come around the corner and the vehicle's not moving at all. We can still see the smoke and what I think is concrete dust. So I would say these officers were probably no more than 5 seconds behind this guy. Could be wrong, but I don't think they were any further than 5 seconds behind him. He's crashed out trying to take this corner, and boom, they're kind of right on top of him. As they make the approach, he starts to get this door open. Now, you're going to lose the video, but you're still going to have audio. So listen closely to the audio. He doesn't have a fast trigger finger, I can tell you that. He has a machine gun. He has a Glock 17 pistol with a 50-round drum magazine inserted into it. And the Glock 17 pistol has been modified with a selector switch to make it fire full auto. As far as details about what he had in the 50 round drum, or if the 50 round drum was even fully loaded, I don't know. Those details don't exist in public domain right now. Only thing that's known is he had a Glock 17 with a red selector switch on the back of the gun and a 50 round drum magazine on the bottom of the gun. The burst that you hear, and I'll back it up so you can hear it one more time. That is not a long enough burst to empty an entire 50 round magazine, 50 round drum magazine. So I don't know why you hear full auto and then hear some semi-automatic rounds fire. The officer in the passenger seat has not gotten out of his vehicle yet, and the second police vehicle hasn't even come to a stop yet. So I have a theory on, I won't say a theory, I have a couple of plausible explanations on why we are hearing what we're hearing. The first one is the full auto sear that he got is a piece of junk, and he was firing this gun full auto and the sear broke, and now he's no longer able to fire full auto, and it will only do semi-auto. There was a news report that talked about him having a 3D printer, and the ATF agents who ended up charging him for the machine gun had made some comments about they thought maybe some gun parts or whatever had been printed by a 3D printer. Don't know if that means that at his home where he has a 3D printer, he was working and toying around with making a 3D printed gun, or if the guns he had on him had some type of 3D components on them. Don't know. From the picture, the selector on the back of the gun is red colored. It doesn't look like a 3D printed plastic kind of thing. It could be 3D printed. For all I know, it could have used, red colored 3D printing cables or spools or whatever the terminology for them is. Or he could have just bought a really junky full auto sear. I mean, if someone is making full auto sears and selling them illegally, is what's going to happen when these things break? What's this dude going to do? Report that company to the Better Business Bureau? Go to the Inspector General's office and file a complaint? No, like some of these companies who make these attachments that are illegal, they don't care about quality control. Who the hell's going to come after them? Who the hell's going to report them? Right? Like, the person who just bought this thing illegally, like they're going to go complain to someone? No, that's not going to happen. So it's very plausible that whoever he bought this thing from did a shoddy job on it, and it broke while firing full auto. It just wasn't able to stay together, so to speak, and sustain that full auto fire. And it's possible that it broke and he wasn't able to sustain full auto fire, but was able to continue firing semi-auto, because when you hear it end, you hear the semi-auto fire. Now that could be I'll play it one more time for you. You hear after the full auto burst, you hear a few semi-auto rounds being fired, and then you hear some additional rounds being fired, and that's the officer getting out and returning fire. So if it wasn't him firing the full auto gun and something happening to the auto sear that made it stop firing full auto, then it's possible that he had two guns and he was firing the full auto gun and it stopped working, and then he continued shooting with his other gun in semi-auto. We do know that he had two guns. The full auto Glock that he had, he ended up leaving behind in the car. And the fact that he left that full auto gun behind in the car tells me that it probably stopped working on him, and he knew that it was no longer working, and so he just left it behind. As I said, that full auto burst was not long enough to account for 50 rounds out of that drum. There's just no way. Like, I've shot full auto Glocks before. I know what the rate of fire is. Like, that rate of fire, there's no way that he dumped that 50 rounds in that small little burst. It's just, it don't fire that fast. So why would he abandon that gun? Because I think it stopped working, and either the full auto sear stopped working on him and he said to hell with it, or it was a drum magazine related issue. And it kind of makes me think that he had two guns, he was double fisting it, and the full auto Glock stopped working. And he left that behind and then continued on with his other gun that did continue to work. Now, I don't know what his other gun was. They have not released that. The only pictures that I've seen are of his full auto Glock that was sitting what appeared to be in the passenger seat. The drum magazines that you can get for these Glocks, if you've ever messed with drum magazines before, you know that sometimes they're not always the greatest. And the drum magazines that you can get for the Glocks, you know, people have reported issues with those things not working correctly, etc. So that's a possibility of why the Glock was no longer put into play. He had a magazine failure and he just didn't understand what was going on and ditched it, and he had the other gun and was using it. Oops. All right, so this is the first officer who jumps out.
Right here. Suspect is now northbound. He cracked up. Joe.
All right, so they start to take rounds.
Suspect is now northbound. He cracked up. Joe.
Boom, good free shot right there. You can see a round hitting the windshield right there. So I think that as they're rolling in and he's coming to a stop, this officer right here has committed to start to get out of the vehicle when the shooting starts happening. Could he have drawn his pistol and started engaging the threat through the windshield? Yeah, certainly he could have. That's an option. But it's not necessarily always the best option. Windshields cause rounds to deflect. Anytime you fire a bullet through a windshield, it causes that round to go off course. When you're dealing with a windshield, it is a sandwich of glass and laminate. So it's going through multiple layers of stuff. And there's no set rule on how that round is going to go off course. It can go to the left some, it could go to the right, it could go down, it could go up. You don't know. You just know that it's going to deviate off its trajectory in some way. The closer the threat or the closer the target is, the less deviation you'll notice. There's going to be deviation for sure, but you'll notice it a little bit less. When the target is further out, you definitely 100% sure notice that deviation, because you might not even hit the target at all. The trick to shooting through a windshield is not to shoot multiple holes through the glass, but rather to shoot one hole through the glass and then try to start firing all your rounds through that hole that you made. Because once you've put a hole in the glass and you send subsequent rounds through it, those rounds aren't hitting anything. They're not hitting glass, laminate glass. They're just hitting thin air. And you're going to be more accurate. The tricky part is trying to aim through that spiderweb glass that has now went around the hole that you just made. That can be difficult. You can't get a good sight picture when you're trying to line your sights up and all you can see in your sight radius is fucking spiderweb glass. Like, that's all you see. So that presents a lot of difficulties if you can't see your damn target and what you're aiming at. So although you can shoot through the windshield, it's not always the best option. It makes things more difficult. He committed to dismounting from the vehicle, and I 100% agree with that. You don't want to stay in a vehicle in a gunfight. Like, that's your last option right there. You want to bail out of that vehicle as quick as you can. Bullets are very attracted to cars. That's why cars are called bullet magnets. Cars also do not offer very great protection. Like the windshields, bullets go straight through them. Car door panels, bullets go straight through them, no problem. Doesn't even have to be big bullets. It can be little 22s and it goes straight through the door panels, no problem whatsoever. So you don't really want to be in a car or around much of a car. There's only a few places in a car you want to be around, and if you're going to be behind a car, you want to be behind as much car material as possible. So in this instance, the hood of the vehicle is facing the suspect vehicle where he's at and he's shooting. The best place to take cover would be at the very rear of the vehicle, because you have the engine block, you got the firewall, the dashboard, all the seats and the materials in the cab from the dashboard going back to the cargo hold, the cage that's in the vehicle, whatever's in the cargo hold, and that back latch. You have a lot of stuff there to stop bullets versus opening the car door and trying to hide behind the car door, and a 22 can easily just go through the entire freaking door. So cars you don't want to be in gunfights. You want to get the fuck out of them as fast as you can. And this officer commits to bailing out of the vehicle. You can see the glass on him.
He's now northbound. He cracked up.
So windshields, when you hit them with bullets, particulate matter goes flying everywhere. And, oh man, if she gets in your eyes, it hurts. Glass dust is a problem when it comes to automobiles. I wish there was a great, way to get around it, to minimize it, but there's really not. That's a reality. You have to deal with glass dust. So that's another thing to think about if you're shooting from within a vehicle. If you're going to be shooting from within a vehicle and shooting through your windshield, not only are you going to have to be dealing with the fact that your rounds are going to be deviated off course and you probably going to be missing your target, you're also now causing a bunch of pieces of glass particles that are like dust to be swarming around inside the cab that can get in your eyes and then cause involuntary eye closure, and now you're blind. And the sound. The sound is, if you've never shot a gun inside a car before, it's loud. Trust me. Luckily, it doesn't appear as though any of this glass dust has gotten in his eye. He goes to dismount the vehicle, and at this point, I'd imagine that he's probably thinking in his head of getting his gun, because he kind of seems to, once he starts to get out, he seems to pause long enough to reach down to get his gun. Once that gun's out of the holster, holy shit, he's fast on target. Let's see that one more time. So he's like, it's hard to time it, but he takes a little bit more time getting out of the car. But if you watch it enough times and you get a good feel for when that holster or for when that gun comes out of the holster, like, it's quick. He gets gun out of the holster and on target within 2 seconds. So, I mean, still a pretty good draw for, being, I guess you could say, ambushed, so to speak. So he gets this gun out, and he gets it on target. He starts delivering rounds. And the saddest thing in the fucking world happens. His damn magazine falls out of his gun. And I couldn't have gotten the freeze frame on this any better. Couldn't do this again if I tried. So, magazine falls out of the gun. Why did that magazine fall out of the gun? I don't think that this was a magazine that was improperly seated, although that can be a cause for a lot of people when they go to shoot and their magazine falls out. They just haven't pushed that magazine all the way in to have it lock in place. I don't think that's the issue here, because this magazine drops, he pulls another magazine out, puts it in the gun, and the same thing happens. I think the issue here is he is pressing the magazine release. And why is he pressing this magazine release? One of two reasons, in my opinion. One possibility is he has an extended magazine release on this gun. And by him under duress, going to two-handed grip, somewhere on his palm area from his support hand coming in, the meaty part of it's pressing in that area, and he's just inadvertently pressing too hard into the magazine release area and causing the magazine to release. And it's made it easier to do that by the magazine release being extended. The second possibility is the same thing. He's just pressing too hard with both hands in, getting a good two-handed grip, and his grip's just a little off, but he's pressing a little bit too hard and he's hitting that magazine release. So both possibilities include, hitting the magazine release. It's just the first one. If it is an extended magazine release, it's just making it easier for him to inadvertently press that thing in. And I've seen that before on the range. Other people have seen it too, and that's also why a lot of instructors don't advocate getting extended magazine releases, because that is a real possibility. You inadvertently hitting that damn thing and causing your magazine to fall out of the gun. There's been cases where people have had extended magazine releases on their guns, and when the gun is holstered, that thing gets hit easily, and the magazine falls out of the gun when it's in the holster. So extended magazine releases sound like a good idea, but they're really not. They don't help you in any way whatsoever. And in fact, they can hinder you and potentially cause issues like this. Your damn magazine falling out of the gun in the middle of a gunfight. Like, man, how shitty is that? How gut-wrenching is that? How much of a letdown, like heart-sinking feeling of impending doom he must have been feeling, because he recognized that it fell out, because he recovered from it fairly well. He was able to move off the X and reload, so he's recognized it. He's noticed that this magazine's fallen out. Like, I can only imagine what's going through his mind right now. The pucker factor just doubled. Like, the gunfight alone Being shot at, that's one thing, but holy shit, your magazine falling out in the middle of a gunfight, like, that dude could have shit a fucking diamond. But anyway, that magazine falls out and he recovers from it pretty well. He moves and gets off the X and he reloads. So notice that he's right here, and we'll back it up. That way we can see it from him getting out of the vehicle. So he does a reload. However, he fails to do a tap and rack. Play that one more time. Okay. So when he starts to come around this corner, I want you to watch his hands and the gun. You're going to see him anticipate recoil. You'll see his hands and arm flinch forward as though he's anticipating the recoil of shooting. This is a pretty common thing to notice on the firing line. A lot of people will anticipate. Today is not the day for me to be talking. A lot of people anticipate recoil, and they'll do this flinching motion because they're anticipating it, and they're trying to compensate for this recoil. So just pay attention to his hands, and you'll see him flinch forward at the moment that he's trying to pull the trigger. So you saw him flinch. He immediately recognizes, hey, the gun's not shooting. Type 1 malfunction. And he goes into an immediate action. He starts to tap the magazine and then rack the slide. Play it one more time. And the second pucker factor of the day. The second magazine falls out of the gun. Damn, this guy's day is sucking bad. And I don't think it has anything to do with his skills or anything. I think it has just the fact to do with he's hitting the magazine release inadvertently. And I'm kind of leaning towards the fact that he probably has an extended magazine release. Can't prove it, can't back that up. It's just a suspicion that I have. So, yeah, second magazine falls from the gun. And I seriously doubt that this is a issue of the magazine not being seated properly, because we see him do a really good tap on the bottom of this magazine. Like, he taps it in there pretty good, but it still comes out. So he fires the slide lock. So slide's locked back, and he hits the man. If there was more light, if he wasn't casting a shadow over himself, we would be able to see that magazine release a lot better. And even from this angle, it's hard to say, but that thing is sticking out. Like, you can notice it. It's right there. Now, like I said, if there was more light, if his body wasn't in the way and there was sunlight hitting this, I think we'd be able to see with more clarity what's going on with the magazine release. But yeah. But he fires the slide release. Slide release. He fires the slide lock. He hits that release, and you can see in the shadow down here, he's reaching down for another magazine, but he don't have one. That's pretty common for officers to only carry 2 additional magazines. That's anywhere in the world you go. You can go to South America, you can go to Europe, don't matter. It is common to see officers with just 2 extra magazines on their belt. Now, you may see some officers who have 3 magazines on their belt. There might even be some that have 4 on their belt. The most common is 2 on the belt. Now, there may be some who carry additional magazines on them. It's just not in a nice little magazine pouch on the belt. Some officers may carry an extra magazine or 2 in a cargo pocket, in their pant pocket. Some may have them stashed inside their uniform shirt with their concealable vest. They may have some in their car sitting in there for the possibility of having to get to use those. But as far as wearing on the uniform itself, it's pretty common just for 2 magazines to be on the belt. So, you can't say anything negative about it, because that's the norm. That's the expected norm out there. He just had the unfortunate experience of dumping 2 magazines out of the gun inadvertently. That 3rd magazine that he went to, he fired the slide lock. Now he's needing to reload. Well, he don't have any reloads, so he has to do a retrieval of the magazine that has fallen and hit the ground. If it weren't for that, then his only option at this point is to go to a backup gun, if he has one on, or go to this vehicle over here and get a rifle out, if there's one in there. You can see him right here. Right there. They are close. Super close. At this point, and we've seen the video in the initial part of the video. I just haven't gone back to revisit it yet. But there is an officer who shoots at him as he's running. The officer fires 2 rounds when the suspect is roughly about right in here, actually, where this officer's at. An officer over here fires 2 rounds at the guy, obviously doesn't hit him, and he's continued running. And he's legal in doing that. Tennessee versus Gardner. You can shoot a violent fleeing felon. At this point, I think this officer could have stopped, taken a knee, got a good, stable firing platform, so to speak, aimed up on his back and fired. Or he could have come to here, to this pole, braced up against it, stabilized himself more, and aimed onto this guy's back and popped him in the back. He's got a red dot on his gun. He should be able to just put that dot on there and squeeze that trigger and make a pretty good hit. It's not like he's going to have to line the mechanical sights up or anything like that. So he should be able to either take a knee, make himself more stable, or brace himself up against this pole. Or hell, he could have even braced himself up against the back of the car when he got to it and fired across the back of the trunk and hit this guy in the back. And he would have been perfectly legal in doing so. This guy is a threat to society. He is a dangerous, violent criminal. He is a clear and present danger to society. He ends up taking someone else's car, gets them out of the car at gunpoint. He could have shot them and killed them and dragged them out of the car, or he could have taken them hostage. So I would have had no problem whatsoever if he would have paused long enough to get a good aim and pop this dude in the back. Now, I mentioned rifle a little bit while ago. So like I said, at this point, if it weren't for these magazines out here, his only option would be to go to his backup gun if he had it, or go to the car to get the rifle. So before we go any further, let's talk about rifles. Rifles stop fights a lot better than pistols. Pistol ammunition just inherently sucks. It can still kill, it can still get the job done, but it doesn't do as an effective job as rifle cartridges does. As I noted earlier, I don't know how long this pursuit had lasted, if it had just started, whatever. I don't know the time frame involved. But if there's a couple ifs in this, if it had been lasted long enough for him to be able to get the rifle out and charge it, then he should have done it. And the second if is if the rifle was even in the cab of the vehicle itself. So they're in an SUV. It's very plausible that if they had a rifle, it could have been in the back cargo hold area. The way this incident played out, they're in the pursuit. He can't crawl through the back cage and get the rifle. That's obviously unrealistic. So it's not available to him, immediately available to him. And he starts taking fire the minute they come to a stop. Actually, I think they start taking fire before they even come to a full, complete stop. He has no choice but to bail out of the vehicle with a pistol only. So if the rifle had been in the cargo hold, obviously he just can't go get it. He's got to fight with what he's got. Now, if during this pursuit they started chasing this guy and it's obvious this dude's not stopping, well, we all know it's going to be a felony traffic stop at that point, right? Like, it's not like this dude runs and then he finally stops and then someone's just going to walk up to the window and be like, hey, I'm such and such with such and such department. Do you know why I stopped you? No, that shit ain't happening. They're fucking proning him out in a felony traffic stop. So if you know you're going to be conducting a felony traffic stop, get your damn rifle ready. So if the rifle was in the cab of the vehicle while they're doing this pursuit and it's obvious this dude ain't stopping, then he should have got that rifle out of the rack, charged it up, and got it ready so that when they stopped and dismounted from the vehicle, he could have that rifle up in moments' notice and ready to put it to work. If the rifle was in the cab and if he had done that, got that rifle out and ready to go during the middle of this pursuit, then when they came to a stop and contact happened, then he would have been able to bail out of that vehicle and have a rifle in the fight. And I think that in the beginning stages of this, if he had had a rifle, it would have made a huge difference. I don't think that this incident would have lasted as long as it did if he had had a rifle to begin with. So if he would have had a rifle, he would have rocked this dude's world from this point right here. He would have had one. It's unlikely that the magazine would have fallen out of the gun. He wouldn't have had this issue of inadvertently hitting the magazine release. He would have had 30 rounds on board of this rifle to pump into this guy over here. Rifle would have been more accurate. Rifles are more accurate than pistols. He would have had that rifle, he would have been able to rock this dude's world with a rifle, in my opinion, and stop this incident well before it ever got to the point of this guy being able to start running down the street and hijacking people's cars. to tell, but at the beginning, the dude's still in the car.
Crack up. Joe.
So just pay attention to the driver's seat right here. You can see movement right there. So like I said, at this point, if he had a rifle, he would have been able to easily punch rounds in through here and hit this guy. No problem whatsoever. But no rifle. So it ends into a pursuit. And keep in mind, this is his only magazine in his gun. That's it. He's still going after him. And let's back this up even further, because I was wanting to note something. He's moving forward. He's taking the fight to the bad guy. He's shooting and he is moving forward. And he continues to go after this guy, knowing this is his only magazine left in his gun. And it's not even a full magazine at that. But he stays in the fight. That, to me, is awesome. This guy has a great fighting mindset. This guy's a good dude. He really is. If they got some type of award down there for top cop, like, this guy needs it. He's dedicated. And it's not just that his actions show that he's dedicated. It's also obvious to me that he's a high performer. I don't know his training, but I don't even know his name. I don't know his background, his training background, or anything like that. There's a couple of good guesses I can make based off how I can see him perform so far in this video. One is he's just like everyone else. He's had the same training, hasn't had anything more, but he has taken to it better. He invested himself in what training was given to him. He paid attention and he practiced it after he learned it. He mastered the skills that were taught to him. There are good students and there are bad students, and you can tell he's a good student. The second possibility, still being a good student, the second possibility is he has taken extra training beyond what the bare minimum basic training is that's offered to him and everyone else. So it's one of those two. Which one it is, I don't know, but this guy, he is good with his skills. The fact that he was able to very quickly perform an immediate action on his gun after failure to fire without hesitation, boom, gun stopped working, tap, rack, bang. Like, there was no hesitation whatsoever. It was just boom, it was fast. I've seen other videos where there's gunfights involved and officers go to do a magazine change and they completely fumble it. Like, it's it's like watching, I can't even think of an analogy for it. It's nauseating in a way. It's hard to watch. It's difficult to watch when you see these videos and you see officers that can't perform a fucking reload without like fumbling it and just sitting there and like looking at one. You see them start it off, they just stop and they like tilt the gun, and you know they're looking at it like, duh, what happened here? And then they try to go do the reload and they just fuck it all up. They can't get it right. I've seen videos like that before, and when I've seen those videos, that was a clear indication to me that they were not a good student. They didn't take well to their training. Now, it could also be that there was a bad instructor involved. Okay, I'll even give it that. But the curriculum, even if the instructor themselves was not presenting the stuff very well, the curriculum, if they would have read it and understood it and applied it to them, they would know what to practice well. And this guy, watching him, like, you can tell this dude was a good student. And it might have also been the fact that he probably had a good instructor too. I don't know. But he has obviously invested himself in the training that he got. He took well to it. And it really shows. Aside from him displaying the signs that he's had good training, this dude's got a fighting mindset. He's on his last fucking magazine, a partially depleted magazine at that, and he's still chasing after this dude.
Car, get on the other side of the car!
So I think that he was recognizing the fact that they would have better cover at this point.
Stop!
Hey, there, time fires!
So Tennessee versus Gardner right here. He is completely justified in shooting at a dangerous fleeing felon. I just wish he would have shot this dude fleeing a lot sooner. I really think that if he had taken a knee further back and got a good stable platform, or even braced himself against the pole or braced himself against the car and really put that sight on him and squeezed that trigger, I think it could have dropped him right there on the sidewalk. I talked about the rifle. So, like I said, I think if he had a rifle, then in the beginning phase of that fight, it would have stopped with him being in the car. I think those rifle rounds would have just ate his ass up in the cab of that car, and the fight would have been done right there. But if it had not panned out like that, and it still turned into this guy running down the sidewalk, shit, man, that's that's easy shooting right there. All he had to do was just stop, put that rifle sight on that dude's back, and just press that trigger. He would have dropped right there on the sidewalk. He never would have got the chance to victimize this person, potentially causing them to be mentally scarred for the rest of their life, have PTSD for the rest of their life, be afraid to go out in public. Like, who knows what this person's gone through. Like, that's probably that has to be a terrifying thing, to have someone come with a gun and point it at you and rip you out of your car. Like, that's got to be scary. And there's some people that those kind of traumatic things that happen to them, it has a lasting impact on them for the rest of their life. Even though he may not have shot this person or really physically hurt them, the mental pain that he's put this person through, this person may have some anxiety now after this. This person may become extremely anxious just to go out in public because they're afraid they're going to be robbed again. This officer slows himself down and he's trying to get good hits on target. He is trying to get this guy to stop. So that was a good officer. I like it. Now, for some reason, it skips the driver of that first vehicle, and then it goes to the passenger and driver of the second vehicle. So I'm going to skip them right now, and then I'm going to go to the driver of the first vehicle who was with that first officer. So this is the driver of the first vehicle.
Right here. Yep. I saw it. Suspect is now northbound.
Watch out. Shots fired! Send EMS. I got hit. Fucking bitch.
Two totally different people. Let's go watch that again.
Watch out. Shots fired! Send EMS. I got hit. Fucking bitch.
This guy didn't just run for cover. This guy ran away. That may be the unpopular thing to say. And I know there's probably going to be people who got something to say about that. Like, oh, you're bashing the police. You're a cop hater, blah, blah, blah. No. If you watch this channel long enough, you know better than that. I'm going to call it like I see it. This guy ran from the fight. He left his partner there all by himself. Left him there. Ran away. When I first saw this, the first thing that came to my mind was run, Forrest, run. That's what I thought of. I thought of Forrest fucking running away from the battle.
Watch out.
Yeah, bailing out of the vehicle. You don't want to be inside the vehicle. That's fine. Like, nothing says he's got to sit in there and take those hits. No. Like, get out of the vehicle. Get cover.
Shots fired!
This vehicle stopped. Both their doors are open.
Shots fired!
He could have very easily taken cover behind this vehicle and start self-aid. But instead, he continues to run away and runs around this corner and goes completely out of sight. This guy was not retreating to cover, in my opinion. In my opinion, this guy was running away from the fight, and he left his partner there all by himself. Yes, he was shot. He got hit. He's bleeding everywhere. But that doesn't change the fact that he ran away from that fight. Him running away like that, if he had, let's hypothetically say that his injury was severe enough that it ended up causing him to pass out. What if he had rounded this corner, got over here by these trucks, and there wasn't a person out here outside in this lot? Let's say he got around there and he started to get around these trucks, and then he passed out. No one's going to know where the hell he's at, because all these other officers at this point, or not at this exact point where the frame is freezed, but if he had passed out and this fight continued, those officers were well down the road. And if backup got here, Well, they're going to see these cars are empty, and they're going to know that they're further down the street, and they're going to go down there. Meanwhile, this guy's passed out in the parking lot, bleeding to death. And it's not going to be an immediate, like, hey, where's Hayden at? Like, it would have taken a minute or two before anyone was like, hey, where's Hayden at? I don't know. Let's go check the vehicles. And they get over there. Boom, he's not there. And when they look around the immediate area, he's not there. And then they're like, well, did someone take him to the hospital? I don't know. Then they have to start searching for him. And so then that's going to eat up resources. They're going to have officers taken off from this task at hand, trying to track down a bad guy who's just tried to kill police officers, and then they're going to have to go searching for him. Granted, he would have been close. He would have been around the corner, and hopefully they would have been able to find him quickly. But that still would have taken resources to have to find him. And chances are, if he had passed out and wasn't able to get the tourniquet on all the way and stop the bleeding, he could have bled to death over here. And no one would have known. No one would have known where to go find him at, because he ran away from the fight and ran around to this building and hid over there in the parking lot.
Send EMS. I got hit. Fucking bitch.
He's already got his tourniquet out, and he's got it on his arm.
Hey, come here. Come here. Hurry. Tighten that tight. Tight. Oh, wrap it around. Stop.
You want me to get you a towel?
Yeah, quickly.
You want me to get you a towel?
Yeah.
He should be able to put that tourniquet on all by himself without having to get the aid of another person to assist. When you carry medical gear, you have to know how to use it. If you're carrying a gun, you got to know how to use it, right? If you carry a taser, you got to know how to use it. If you carry a tourniquet, you got to know how to use it too. Now, he knows how to use it. He knows that it goes around his arm, you tighten it up. But you got to practice with it. You got to become proficient enough to be able to do it all by yourself. What if this guy had not been there to help him get this thing all the way around? Well, that would have sucked. When it comes to training for medical, there's more than just watching a video and understanding how it goes on. You have to practice with it. Just like with firearms, you can watch videos on how to shoot guns. You can get that academic knowledge of it and understand the concepts and principles. There's people who've watched videos on M2 machine guns, and they know how to fire those things. They've never shot one, but they know how to work it because they've watched enough videos on it. Does that make you proficient at it? No, not at all. You got to get hands-on. When it comes to applying tourniquets, you have to have a training tourniquet. If someone is teaching a medical class and they're trying to teach you how to put on tourniquets, they have got to have some training aids. They've got to have a practice tourniquet for students to be able to put on themselves and demonstrate that they know how to do it. And not just that they know how to do it, but they can do it. And if they can't do it right there in front of the instructor, then the instructor needs to give them some one-on-one stuff and be like, hey, let's solve this problem. You're going to have to put this thing on yourself. That's crucial. That's important. That's as crucial as learning how to run your gun. If you're going to carry the tools to induce trauma, you got to carry the tools to reduce trauma. And you got to have that knowledge that goes with it. You got to have that experience of training with it to go along with it. You've got to be able to do things by yourself. You can't rely on other people. So let's go back to the second vehicle that arrives. So they get to the back of the vehicle. That's standard response. You put as much cover between you and the threat as possible. No issues with this. They move forward. They are bringing the fight to the bad guy. You notice he is utilizing the vehicle as cover. He is trying to keep as much of this vehicle between him and the bad guy as possible. And as a result, this happens, is because he's trying to pie around this corner and get his sights and shoot. He's also inadvertently hitting the vehicle right here. You can see right here on the windshield where his rounds are hitting. We'll back that up a little bit more. You see it crumbling out right there. That happens. I've talked about misses before in gunfights and stuff like that. But when you're utilizing cover like this, yeah, that's a possibility. You're gonna shoot your cover. Yeah, it sucks that his rounds are being wasted into this like that. But this is reality. This is an expectation. This is something that can occur when you're trying to, quote unquote, hug your cover like this and utilize it to the best of your advantage. And as you start to see the target emerge from around the cover and you start to engage, yeah, the flight path of that bullet being so close, yeah, there's a possibility that it's going to miss and it's going to hit the cover right there. So you can't harp too much on that. And that dude takes off running. He fires 2 rounds, obviously misses. As soon as contact's made again, he reverts here to the side to take cover.
We're going to be at the 2100 block. Neil Hutchins, I got an officer down. Hutchins.
So him taking fire and moving to the left here to take cover, I have no issue with. The other officers are right over here, and the suspect vehicle's right there. Right there. He has a good vantage point right here. He can easily fire at him. He can even move forward to this vehicle right here and utilize it as cover and have a different vantage point, maybe even a better vantage point to get rounds on target here. But he doesn't do that. Gunfire being exchanged. What's he do?
We're going to be at the 2100 block.
He backs away and starts to get on the radio.
Neil Hutchins, I got an officer.
While there's still a gunfight raging with his partners. And at this point, he knows. He has to know that there's a guy down over there. He's heard him. Let me take that back. He may not have heard him because sometimes auditory exclusion occurs in shootings like this. But there's a guy down over here, and he's dicking around on his radio. I understand the need for communications. People need to be updated. Communications are critical in a fight. That's how forces win battles. The people who can shoot, move, and communicate are often the ones who win. But at this moment in time right now, I don't think he needs to be wasting his time on the radio. And in fact, there's a lot of times I think people waste too much time on the radio. It's like fucking radios are like a pacifier for some people. When they start getting nervous, they want to start talking on that radio. Like that damn radio is going to do something for them. And this is something that I've noticed for a while now. People fiddling with their radio, reaching down and adjusting the volume and just tinkering with it. Like, why the fuck are you sitting there fiddling with your radio? Like, you got some separation issues or something? Like, leave the damn thing alone. I've seen many videos where when people need to be shooting and fighting, they're instead blabbing on the radio. They're not that far from where they initially stopped at. People know where they're at. When people get down into those cars and they don't see them there, well, they're for sure going to probably hear the gunshots down the road and know where they're at. They're going to come to them. Why waste your time on the radio at this point, at this crucial point in the gunfight? There's one guy down over there who's been hit. The other guy, although he does not know this, is down to his last freaking magazine. He's on the other side of the road over here. He has the ability to start taking shots from where he's at. The bad guy is going to have to choose who he focuses on to shoot at. Is he going to shoot at these people over here? Or is he going to shoot at this officer over here? While he's focused on shooting these people over here, this officer here could get the drop on him. He could maneuver forward on this guy, take some ground, get closer, get a better firing angle. And then as this guy turns to focus his attention on him, old dude over here can get up and start laying rounds on that guy. So I think that in this moment, this guy failed to continue the fight. He's in a good position, in my opinion, to continue this fight and start putting more rounds on target. But instead, he takes a step away and starts blabbing on the radio. As I said, communications are crucial. They're important. And typically, the people who can shoot, move, and communicate the best typically win. But in this moment, I just don't think it's crucial to be on the radio at this point. I think the fight needs to be committed, and he needs to be working that trigger instead of working that PTT.
Officer down.
And he shows up and moves up too late. The guy's already gone. All right, and the last video. And this is why magnetic mounts for body cameras suck ass. Magnetic mounts are always falling off. Like, they're trash. They are the cheapest, lamest piece of gear you could ever imagine. I don't know why people continue to use these things. Like, their failure rate is so high. I mean, how many times have you watched a video and someone's body camera fell off? I've lost count how many times it's happened. Or hear people talk about it, who have to use a body camera with a magnet mount. Like, these things suck. They're always falling off. If you have the ability to use something else other than a magnetic mount, do it. Magnetic mounts suck. All right, so enough of that gunfight that occurred. Get to the house. So he goes back to his house. Officers determined that the stolen vehicle was outside his residence here, and they come here. Now, the time frame involved, I don't know. I have no idea how long it took after he stole that car and got going down the road to when they figured out that he came back home and was here, and how long it took the SWAT team to get there to start doing operations. Don't know what that time frame is, but SWAT team's here. This guy's got the pike pole, and he's raking the window. So he's broken the window out, cleared the glass, and now he's going to start to clear the I'm at a loss for words here. The blinds. He's starting to clear the blinds out of the way so that they can see in there and maybe potentially make entry through a window or be able to see him and get a rifle pointed at him and get lethal cover on the guy. Because when you have these obstructions in the way, you can't see inside the room. You got to clear these obstructions so you can get better sight. And so this is what he's doing. He's broken out the window, and now he's going to rip out these blinds using the hook on the pike pole here.
He's in this room right here. Hey.
All right. So this part of the house faces the roadway, and the roadway is right here. This is like a porch of some sort. These steps go up, and it goes back this way. This sidewalk right here, this goes into like what's a driveway sort of, and there's this fence right here behind all of them, and it has like a privacy thing up, and we'll see it better when I go to the other view. But they're all on this side of the house right now. I'm sure there's people on the other side of the house, but from these two camera angles that we see, because he's on this side of the house shooting at them, this is all we see. So he's trying to rake the window. It seems like these officers are the ones who take fire versus them. They've already raked or broken the window on this side over here. It's already, you can see it in the other camera view, it's already broken. This side ends up taking fire, but this side doesn't. But when it switches to the other camera view, they're the ones who are right here next to him. And notice the dude in the jeans and the tennis shoes. I guess he was off duty when the SWAT call came out. Another thing, so this is kind of going a little bit beyond what the normal stuff is. I've noticed how he has his pec positioned here. Not the biggest fan of that. I personally believe that your IR lasers, illuminators need to be as far forward on the gun as possible to minimize splashback off the rails of the gun. Because when you're looking at this stuff through nods, obviously right now it's daytime and they're not using nods, so it's not like it matters. But at nighttime, when you turn that laser on or that illuminator on, you get splashback off these rails. And depending on how much splashback you're getting, it can kind of bloom out your nods a little bit and make it more difficult to see. So I believe that the PEC needs to be a lot more far forward of this, at the most tip point of this rail. That way to minimize any splashback under nods. And then also, it's kind of hard to see in this angle. I don't know if he has the plug in or not.
In this room right here. He's in this room right here.
It kind of looks like he has a plug in, so but it's hard to tell. If he don't have a plug into this, going to the switch up here, then the only way he's going to turn this thing on is hitting the fire button right there. If he's got a plug in, then this could be what this button is here, is to activate the laser, or that button could be activating this flashlight. Which one, I'm not 100% sure. It's just not enough clarity to see on this thing. But if this button was going to be used to activate the laser, well, then his thumb's in the way once that illuminator comes on, and that's going to cause a lot of splashback. So the best place for these things is to go as far forward on the rail as possible. That way you completely minimize any splashback under nods. Obviously, daytime, it doesn't matter.
He's in this room right here. Hey. He's in this room right here. Hey. He's in this room right here. Hey, back up. Bang it! Non-bang! Hey, back up. Bang it! Non-bang!
So he's yelling, bang it, 9 bang. Watch, you'll see a movement over here, but just watch the window right here. You're going to see something get thrown in. That is a noise flash diversionary device, also known as a flashbang, but it's a special flashbang. It's a multi-munition type of device, and it goes bang more than once. It actually goes bang 9 times. That's why they're calling it a 9 bang. So he's thrown that thing in the window, and I can only imagine how much this dude's world is getting rocked in there when those 9 submunitions are going off one after another. Listen.
Hey, back up. Non-bang!
So one flashbang is pretty rocking. Like, these things produce about 1 million or more candle power of light, over 180 decibels of sound. When you set one of those things off out in the open, yeah, it's still loud and stuff, but when you set one of those things off in a room, holy shit, it makes a huge difference. So if you've ever shot a gun outside and then went and shot a gun at an indoor range, like, you kind of get an idea of what I'm talking about. The enclosed structure changes things. That concussion, it's like it amplifies. So one flashbang going off in a room is one thing, but when you got this munition going off and there's like 9 of them going off right after another, this dude's world was getting rocked in there. Like, there's a reason why they call them stun grenades. Like, it's very stunning when that freaking bomb goes off, and that's essentially what it is. It's just a non-lethal bomb going off. When that thing goes off, like, the pressure off of it inside an enclosed room, the sound, the concussion, the flash, like, it's overwhelming. And that's why teams use them, because it helps them when they're making entry and causing distractions and whatnot. Like, it will rock somebody's world. And the fact that 9 of those munitions are going off, do, 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 do. That dude was in that room. Man, I hope it busted his eardrums. That shit had to hurt.
Hey, turn and go. Turn and go.
So they communicated to turn and go. That means they're going to be getting away from that immediate area. Now, notice it is daytime, and the next video is going to be nighttime. Now, you can also notice this fence right here. So this is something important to note. This fence right here and the material that's up on it, it's like some type of privacy fence kind of netting or something like that. And, well, you can't see it on this angle, but there was a gas meter thing right here, natural gas thing. So pay attention to that, because in the next video clip, I'll talk about that and why that's important. All right, so now it's nighttime, and again, I don't know the time frame involved. I don't know how long it took for them to wait for it to become nightfall. But this is the side of the house the team was at. So that first camera footage where you see the guy with the pike pole trying to rake the window, that's that window that he was working on. And then when it switched to the officers here, and you hear the guy yell the 9-bang, and they throw the flashbang in through this window right here, this is the corner that they were at. And you can see this little porch right here. What you see down here is the fence and the little privacy netting that was on it. So at some point during this operation, they took something and bulldozed that down. I'd imagine they probably had some type of armored vehicle roll up there to do that. They just probably came up there and just bulldozed it down with that. And that would be for the purpose of being able to see in through these windows a lot better, because that fence was kind of high and it was blocking some of the view. So by taking that fence down, they're able to see through the windows a lot better. And you can see how they have one fixed light on this window right here, kind of blinding him if he was to look out, and also providing illumination into the room as well.
Come down the stairs. Hands straight up. Keep walking towards my boys. Keep coming.
I hope he looked at his fence right here and see it all trashed to shit and got a little sad about it.
Keep coming.
So it's interesting to note that that first gunfight he was involved in, there was a lot of rounds fired at him. Total amount of rounds, I don't know, but it was a lot. This second gunfight that happened, they fired a bunch of rounds at him too. How many rounds were fired? I don't really know, but they fired quite a few rounds at him. Rifle rounds too, mind you. The only injury this guy has is he has a wound to his neck. And I'm not even sure what kind of wound it is. I don't know if it's a bullet hole in his neck or he got some shrapnel in his neck or whatever, but all he has is a non-life-threatening wound in his neck. And he's able to walk fine. This dude is freaking lucky to have that many rounds shot at him and he still be alive. He's lucky. He needs to play his hand at some lottery instead of trying to play his hand at being a thug. I think he might have a little bit better chance of playing lottery or maybe playing some cards or something like that. His luck's pretty good. Obviously, his luck at being a thug is not that great. Well, you know what? Maybe I should take that back, because this ain't the first time this dude's been involved in the criminal justice system. Go figure, right? Yeah, so this dude's he's a prior felon, so he's been a felon in possession of firearm. He has multiple other offenses. And these offenses that he's been involved in before, if he had been sentenced correctly and served the exact time that he should have been serving, then it is not likely that he would have been out for this incident to occur. He would have still been in prison. I know, go figure, right? Like the court's messing up and letting criminals out early. Nah, that don't happen. Yeah. So sadly, this is the same bullshit kind of thing that goes on all across this nation. Violent offenders being released early, being out on the streets and shooting at the police, trying to kill them, and sometimes even succeeding in killing the police. This right here is a sign that there is a failure within the criminal justice system. It's not the police. We don't need reform on the street cops. When people talk about we need justice reform, blah, 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 I agree. We do need justice reform, but not on the streets. We need reform in the courts. That's where the reform needs to happen at, because these courts, these judges, they've gone crazy, in my opinion. In fact, I've starting to view some of the judges as a clear and present danger to society more than the thugs, because they're the ones who are putting these people back on the streets. They're the ones who are letting these people out early. They're the ones who are giving these people ridiculously reduced bonds. Louisville, Kentucky, for example. Louisville, Kentucky. People charged with murder and attempted murder are getting out on ridiculously low bonds and being put on house incarceration. I can't remember the name, but there was a guy in Louisville who got charged with murder, got out on bond, was given an ankle monitor. He broke the rules of house incarceration, went to another location and killed a guy. Yeah, you heard that right. Went and killed a guy when he was out on bond for killing another guy. And that kind of crap, like, that should not be going on at all. But these hug-a-thug judges in these big towns are the problem. They're the ones who are putting these criminals back on the street. They're the ones who are putting the police at danger. They're the ones who are putting society at danger. It's not just the police who are in danger anymore. It's you and I. It's everyone else in society who is in danger when these violent offenders are just being allowed to run around freely when they need to be locked up. Not much else to say about this video. Or nothing new to say about this video. Really want to go back to this officer here at the very beginning. This guy did well. He did really good. I got a lot of good things to say about him. So when it comes to, learning points on these videos, like, this is a good learning point. Like, this guy, you can see that he has demonstrated that he's been a good student. He has taken well to his training. And I wouldn't be surprised to find out if this guy's a gun guy. Like, he does shooting and stuff on his off time when his administrators are not telling him to. Like, it's not a required part of his job to go shoot extra. Like, he just does it on his own. I would not be surprised to find out if he just goes out and shoots on his own. His partner, on the other hand, not a big fan of the running away thing. Training matters. It does. Like, it's a make or break kind of thing. It can either lead to success or it can lead to failures. And it's not just meeting that bare minimum requirement of training. You have to excel. It's not about making 100% on your training. It's making more than that. You have to invest in training. It's what's going to keep you alive. There are people out there who have not invested in their training, didn't maybe take it serious, didn't do as good, just kind of fell through the cracks. They still survived. They only survived because of luck. That's it. A roll of the dice. A different roll of the dice could have occurred, then they probably would have died because of a lack of mastering the skills. When it comes to firearms training for law enforcement and or security, there's limitations from the agency and the company. Agencies and companies, they don't have trees with money that they can just go to and pluck money off of it and put it towards training. There is a limit, a budgetary limit on how much an agency or a company can put towards training. Some agencies can do better than others. They can put officers through a lot of training. They can give them so many rounds a month to go practice on their own. Those agencies that can do that, awesome. I love it. I just wish that more agencies could do that. These agencies out there that have smaller budgets, or these agencies out there who have a bunch of stupid-ass woke people in their community who wanted to fucking defund them, and they don't have a whole lot of money because of that shit, feel sorry for you. But these agencies that don't have a whole lot of money and they can't put a whole lot into the training budget to get good training, it's going to be up to you to go get that training yourself. Yeah, you're going to have to probably spend money out of your pocket to get better at something. That's up to you if you want to do that or not. If you want to live, if you want to win the fight, then you know what needs to be done. You need to go spend a couple bucks out of your pocket to become better at something. If you don't want to go spend the extra couple dollars to get better at your trade, all right, so be it. Hopefully you got enough money in your insurance to cover your funeral. If you like what you hear and see, go ahead and give me a like and a share. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for more Monday quarterback videos. Earl Henderson, Primordial Defense, thank you for watching.